So, are you someone who's thinking that if only I could find the right person, everything would be fine? Well, the truth is that that's not how it works. And today I want to really shine some light on what the real issue is and why you might be struggling to find that right person, but the answer's actually inside of you. So, for those of you who are new here, first of all, I'd like to introduce myself quickly. I'm Ketra Thompson. I'm a certified master hypnotist and a relationship recovery coach focusing on attachment style and how the way you attach to other people is being driven by the subconscious mind. So, what I do is I go back on a subconscious level with my clients so they can reframe those core beliefs that are driving their unwanted behavior. So, if you'd like to learn more about that, check out the link in the description below. All the information is there, and you can set up a call with me so that we can get to the heart of what's going on with you, so that we can really get clarity on what's driving these behaviors that aren't working for you. So you can find that below. And for those of you who are used to watching me, I'm in a hotel room. I've been on a retreat in Austin, Texas, and so I'm not in my normal place. So forgive any weirdness of this video for being in my hotel room. I want to talk today about how we tend to think that we can solve our issues in life with external things or with tips and tricks. So let's say you're in a marriage and you think, well, if only they would change XYZ in their behavior. Let's say you're single and you're looking for the one that you want to be with and you want this life partner and you just can't find the one. And so you think that it's coming from someplace outside of yourself. The truth is that any amount of external thing that you can bring into your life is not going to solve the problem. It's not going to allow you to bypass or skip doing the internal work. The internal work is actually what changes things. And I don't care what topic it's about. It can be about the dating relationship, the marriage relationship, your work success, what you build on the outside of you. Let's say you want to have a certain kind of house and a certain amount of income. And when you feel like you've got all those things, now you can feel good about yourself. And now you can attract the person you want into your life. And the reality of this is that none of those external things change who you are inside. You could move to another country to try to escape all your troubles, but tomorrow you'll wake up with you. And so the way you're functioning inside of yourself is what's driving everything around you. So, for example, a lot of people will think, I'm waiting for something good to happen to me first. I'm waiting for something to make my life better or someone. And the reality is that the success in life that you have in relationships, in work, in any of it, it comes from being scared and doing it anyway. And I had a moment at this retreat this weekend where it was just this aha that isn't going to translate well into words. But the aha was that the success isn't reaching the goal of the thing. It isn't reaching the income marker, the relationship marker, the house that I want, the whatever. The success has always been in my life that when I was scared, I just did it anyway. That's the success. Doing it anyway. The result isn't the success. It's making the leap into the unknown when you don't know how it's going to go, but you do it anyway. And this really goes for relationships as well, because you aren't going to marry the right person and then your life be perfect. You aren't going to make all the right amount of money and all of a sudden not have to do the internal work, because the internal work is not only what brings those things into your life, it's what keeps them there. It's never a one and done thing where we go, oh, now I found the perfect job. I don't have to put in any more effort or growth or self-reflection. I found the perfect person. And I don't need to look inside myself and see where I'm not showing up well, where my dysfunction is, where my protective functions are. All of that is the internal work. And so there's other things. These are big examples, relationships, jobs, financial success markers, but there's other things that we do that try to sort of keep us from doing the internal work. So they are the strategies that we've adopted over our lifetime. So it's blaming other people and shining that spotlight on them and not looking at ourselves. It's staying so damn busy that we don't have to sit still with our feelings or our emotions so that we don't even have to face them and know what's going on, or we don't have to be present for the people in our life. It's working so much that we can never slow down and feel. It's staying so busy with hobbies and activities that we can never slow down and feel. Because when we slow down and make space for what's going on inside of us, we actually can feel and process. So even, multiple vacations aren't going to keep you from having to do the internal work. The internal work is what your life's work is. Everything else is just a byproduct. Your success is a byproduct of the internal work. Your relationships are a byproduct of the internal work. Now, I'm not saying you can control other people. I've been in relationships with very toxic people. And so part of that process for me was letting go of trying to control their process, their internal work, their journey, their ability to be self-reflective, their ability to see how their behavior was affecting me. And at the same time, like my ability to let go of that in them and choose what was best for me was part of my internal work. So we don't just take one brave leap and think that that's the only leap we're going to have to take in our life. Even getting a divorce is a very big, bold, brave leap. It feels terrifying. And at the end of my 17-year marriage, I did not want to destroy my family, get a divorce. I didn't want to be that statistic. I didn't want to repeat that pattern that had happened with my parents. I was someone who was teaching marriage classes and parenting classes, and I was all in. But at the same time, I could not control what my ex-husband's behavior was. I could not control the fact that he was chronically cheating in his manic state of mind. I couldn't control his unwillingness to address those issues. And so what I could control was me. And I knew that this was not something healthy for me. I couldn't stay in that. And I wasn't going to be the martyr that stayed so other people could be happy. So that alone is a really big leap, but it's not the only leap I needed to take. I have continually had to take giant leaps into areas of the unknown. I've had to start over. I've started my business. I switched careers midlife. And even in the process of creating new relationships at this phase of my life, I've been learning more about myself. I've been learning about what fears are still inside of me, even though I've done a ton of internal work and I have more tools now. There's still a learning process that's never going to end. And none of us are going to get there. None of us are going to get to this point where we just have it all figured out and there's never anything to work on. But the beauty of the hypnotherapy process is that these old behaviors that were programmed into our mind when we were very, very young can be addressed and reframed, because basically we're in a hypnotic state from birth to age 7. We're in the theta brainwave state and we are assigning meaning to everything that happens to us. And as we do that, we're creating these core beliefs which drive almost all of our behavior. Our subconscious mind runs over 95% of everything we think, feel, and do. And so the hypnotherapy process is so incredibly effective in rewiring that, especially as it relates to our attachment style, because our attachment style is the way we were first taught to communicate, connect, and get our needs met by the people around us. And it doesn't mean that our parents were bad, but it does mean that we tend to repeat that pattern in the other relationships in our life. And so if we think we're just going to find the perfect person who's not going to, trigger any of those things inside of us, any of those fears to run away, any of those fears of judgment, any of those fears of abandonment, we're crazy. That's not real. And some of us have conditioned ourselves into thinking that if we just find the perfect person who never forces us to talk about our feelings or never forces us to look at these parts of ourselves that are in dysfunction, then everything will be fine and we won't have to do the work. Because after all, we shouldn't have to do that. We should just feel good, and relationships should be easy and happy and perfect all the time. And so the reality is there's a difference between a healthy relationship that, yes, triggers you, but is willing to sit in that space, to learn, to each person be self-reflective, to come back together, to repair, and to make a better path moving forward, versus the person who is unwilling to look at themselves, unwilling to see how they're showing up, unwilling to look at the part they're playing. And in that dynamic, there isn't a place to go. There isn't a path to move down. And so if you're one of those people that's just waiting for something to happen to you so that life can all of a sudden feel better, or you can all of a sudden feel more confident because you won the lottery, because now you can live up to the image in your mind of who you think you should be, you're going to be waiting around for a really long time, probably your whole life. And at the end of your life, you're going to look back on all the missed opportunities, because opportunities don't come in a beautifully wrapped package. They don't come with no complications like a winning lottery ticket, which also, by the way, doesn't come with no complications. Taking risks and stepping into something better, up-leveling your life, comes with not knowing what that's going to bring. It comes with not knowing 20 steps ahead, but maybe knowing one or two and saying, this is worth it. I'm willing to move toward this person, this relationship, this change, this inner healing work of looking at myself and what I'm afraid of, because it's worth it. It's worth it to get an outcome that stretches me, that grows me, that helps me become the person I really want to be. And so if any of these things, if the busyness, if the blaming, if the unwillingness to put the spotlight on yourself is happening to you, you might be wasting years of your life letting the focus be on someone else. So the thing you can start doing today is you can start educating yourself. What does attachment style mean? What are my patterns? Do I get terrified and really cling to someone else and be anxiously attached and so afraid that they're going to leave? Do I put up walls and keep them out and make all of these mental rules inside my head that no one can live up to? Do I shut down? Do I pull away? Does the fear of not being loved make me run away from them? There's all these patterns, and they kind of exist on a spectrum. And so we like the neat, tidy boxes of the attachment style label, but even within those boxes, they exist on a spectrum of intensity. And so start getting real about what patterns are showing up in your life and how you can move toward secure attachment, because that process alone requires the internal work and the self-reflection that's going to benefit you in every area of your life. So get self-reflective, start noticing, even writing down patterns that you've noticed that you've done in past relationships, in past intense environments, and create that awareness and start creating an action plan for what you can do to actually heal these things. Now, if you'd like to learn more about the hypnotherapy process and reframing these subconsciously, which allows you to do this kind of work that might take you 5 years in regular talk therapy, and you can accomplish it in 5 weeks through hypnotherapy because you actually have access to your subconscious mind in hypnosis. That can be a really amazing path to take and a really incredible way of doing that internal work, especially if you're someone who is results driven, if you're someone that's like, I don't want to be entirely patient with this process. While the truth is, you're always going to be on some type of journey, you're always going to be implementing these things throughout your life. Creating a huge amount of momentum so that you can feel different faster can be a big relief when you're just used to kind of trying to figure out things outside of yourself, where you bring in things to solve the issue and you want to solve the problem. So this can be kind of a way that you can do the deep inner work and not bypass it, but also not immerse yourself in this process of I'm not healed and it's going to take forever and I don't, have the time for that. This is another way for you to do it. But the steps you can take on your own today is start getting self-reflective, looking at your patterns and making an action plan. You can take other steps, you can use other modalities, you can do whatever you want, but having an action plan and not just sitting there like bump on a log waiting for life to happen to you is one of the best ways that you can create momentum in your life. Even if you don't know if it's the right path, it's stepping out into that. That shifts your energy right away and starts creating momentum in your life. Because I know for me, I don't want to wake up at the end of my life and say, I just sat there waiting for something to save me, something to happen to me. And I'm sure you don't want to either. We are tribal, communal people. People really need other people. We need friends. We need support systems. We need community. And we certainly need that intimate partner. And for some people, they really don't have that desire. But I would say for the vast majority of people, and especially if you're watching this video, you probably have that desire to know that, hey, I have my person. I'm not in this life alone. We can do this together. I want someone who will be that team player. If you want that, you can't just sit there waiting for it to happen to you. You can't sit there critiquing everyone and putting generalizations around everyone. You've got to start with the inner work inside of yourself so that you can become more authentic to you. And then that's how you attract the kind of person who's also willing to be like that, who's also willing to be a team player, who's also willing to look inside themselves and do the repair work and do the personal growth work. It isn't some magic thing where, and this is sort of a tangent, but I've heard this dynamic put like, oh, I want to have everything together in my life so much so that the other person relies on me and needs me. And that power imbalance is really, really unhealthy because eventually the person who is the needy one will resent the other person if they are looking to them to meet all of their needs. There needs to be a healthy balance of interdependence where each person has some independence of their own, is caring for themselves on their own, and can come together to express those needs to each other and help each other meet their needs as well. And so we don't get to that level of interdependence with ourselves, our relationships, without doing the internal work. So I hope this was helpful. I hope it wasn't just some random rant that I'm kind of processing in my mind. But the reality is that I really do feel like the success in my life has been all the times I was scared and I did it anyway. I was scared and I had the conversation I needed to have. I was scared and things didn't turn out the way I wanted, but I honored myself and my needs in the process. I was scared and I got divorced anyway. I was scared and I started over in my 40s with nothing and changed careers, but I did it anyway. And some of the things I've done have been a failure. Some of them haven't worked out and some of them have. But in the process, every single time I grew because I was willing to look inside myself and say, what is working for me? What isn't working? What's my pattern? And make an actionable plan to address those things, getting help whenever I needed it, especially in areas that aren't my strength. When it came to building a business or marketing, I needed to hire coaches and get help because that's just not my zone of genius. So I hope you get the help you need. I hope that you get curious about what's going on inside of you. And until next time, I hope you curate a life by your own design.